Well, Terry and I were just talking about it. I think, there's a responsibility for us to embrace being, an upper tier Western Conference team. There are clearly high expectations, and we need to start acting like an elite basketball team. And I think the guys get that. And, keeping 13 core pieces together, adding veterans like Chris and Steve, are taking us in that direction. So I think it's going to be a fun year. It's a lot more fun sitting here with you guys talking about expectations, building on a second-round playoff win, than another lottery appearance and 33 wins. So I think we have to embrace that. I think the guys are excited about it. They're invested, based on all the work they did this offseason. I don't think we've ever had an offseason, even my time with the Clippers, where more of our players worked hard to spend time together. Be it here in Portland, in Los Angeles, or, going to each other's homes. Like Chris and Wesley have gyms. They invited guys out there to work out. So, I think it'll continue to help our chemistry. And like I said, I think they're embracing expectations. I think we talked about this last year where, playing our best basketball, at the end of April is what's really important to us. And I think we saw that last year. We won 9 of our last 10. We got off to a great start, had a dip, and then turned it back on again and resulted in a first-round playoff win. So, I don't want to put an objective number on it in terms of wins because the West is deeper. The East is far more competitive. I think, even fewer wins may translate to a better playoff position, to be honest with you. And when you look at the Western Conference last year, we won a 4-5 matchup as an underdog. But beyond that, every other series went to 7. So I think it's less important where you're seated in the West if you're lucky enough to be in the playoffs and more how you're playing at the time you enter the playoffs. I think we're in a comfortable place, for the first time since we got here. It was a rebuilding mode the first year, even though we might have recategorized that under a different word. But, Terry's really comfortable. He knows that his system works. We were one of the best offenses in the league last year. We had a much improved defense. And the longer this group is together, the more all the things we ask of our players, team defense over individual defense in terms of, knowing our rotations, knowing our coverages, supporting one another, helping the helper, offensively, trusting the pass, being willing to move the ball, knowing who plays what role. So I think we're going to be able to accelerate things in this camp and move on to other objectives because there's going to be less teaching and indoctrination and more polishing. So I think, look, Terry and I have a great relationship. I love the way we play basketball. It's a fun style to watch. I know when I talk to my colleagues around the league, we're one of the teams they watch, from the East Coast, at night because of how we play and our style of play. So, I think that and the comfort level of how best to utilize our roster is going to really give us a really good jump early in the season. Nobody thinks anyone on our roster is all that flashy, and all they do is get it done. We have gamers. I think, at some point, we get indicted for the consistency and stability of our roster, and I think, our guys, they just hoop. We had 4 guys play 82 games last year. LaMarcus came back earlier from that horrific fall on his back than anybody would have asked him to do. And we went 9-1 when he returned. It's a testament to our medical staff with Chris Stackpole. But, these guys weren't 100% all the time, but, they knew what was at stake and they're competing. I think you saw that with Nico in, the last 2 games he played in the World Cup when he really brought it when there was something at stake. Wesley plays through everything. Same thing with Dame. LA, I think any doubts anybody had about what LA brings to the table as the premier player at his position were answered in games 1 and 2 in Houston. Robin's the consummate warrior. So, I think we have guys that know their role, Jason, and have continued to get better in that role, but they all know that they feed off one another. At the end of the day, our roster was as good as any roster in the league this year. There wasn't a team in this league we didn't beat. We were as competitive as we possibly could have been. We had the biggest jump in franchise history, and there was nothing really earth-shattering in the July narrative in the world of blogs and ratings and where we were rated in the offseason. And, I was joking with one national writer, so he ranked our offseason 17th last year. And we had the biggest improvement in franchise history. He ranked us 29th this year. So I said, geez, you may as well just go get us fitted for rings then. So I don't really care about the July narrative. What we care about is putting the right guys on the floor. Clearly when you have like a core with Dame and LaMarcus, you want to surround them with guys that are going to maximize what they do well. And I think we saw that in a vacuum last year with Robin and how much his presence on the floor helped LA. And I think Chris is going to continue. We have an opportunity now to have that on the floor for 48 minutes a night.